Welcome to the BumbleKast. I'm your host, Ian Flynn, the Bumble King, and joining me as always is my Bumble co-host, Kyle, JCRB Krause.
Well, we're here. It's Friday, and it's also the 15th, which means we're almost exactly halfway through the month. And how, Ian? How?
Just don't ask anymore. Just kind of smile and enjoy the ride. Because there's no getting off. There's no derailing this crazy train.
Stop the planet. I want to get off.
Well, we can't stop just yet because we have some standard Q&A to get through today. Where do the questions come from this time, sir?
Well, I realized I've been neglecting the email, so I pulled these out of our email inbox over at contact@BumbleKast.com. So let's go ahead and get to some of these questions, which some of them have been sitting for quite a while. So here we go. Starting off with this one from Callum Q. Is it possible that we will see the return of something like the Egg Army, or is Eggman recruiting a cyborg army for the population of Sonic's world not really the direction you or Sega want to take the comic in?
I can't say for certain, but I don't think Sega's inclined to go that route. I could be wrong. I mean, Infinite seems to be kind of just that, but he's not really setting a precedent. Personally, I don't want to immediately revisit that idea because we just did that in the Archie stuff. Like, we folded in the Dark Egg Legion, took that idea and proliferated it across the Sonic world. And then we had the Egg Army. So I feel like we've seen that before, twice over now. Let's do something different. Let's go in a different direction for a little bit.
Alrighty, here's a question from Certified Nobody. Does the fact that rings appeared in the Sonic Colors CG intro, Sonic Mania Adventures, and the Unleashed CG teaser affect them being canon to IDW?
I don't know, to be honest. Where rings fall in terms of game mechanics and actual lore items is fuzzy. And I guess until that gets defined on their end, it'll be kind of not really touched on IDW, I think. We'll see.
Here's a question from Big Sonic fan Patrick. Do you know if the Werehog curse functioned like the werewolf curse? For example, if Tails, Cream, or others were bitten, would they become a werebeast?
I don't know.
I don't.
That is a good question.
Considering the way it happened was that how did it happen?
Well, that's the thing. Like, in the game, we see people possessed by Dark Gaia energy, and it just seems to eliminate their inhibitions. They don't physically transform. Okay. Whereas Sonic, he resists the corruption, but he physically transforms. So maybe that's the source of it. He couldn't be corrupted spiritually, so it manifests physically.
It's very ill-defined. Like most things in Sonic.
Hey, now. So I don't know. I think it would be kind of just open to whatever you believe. This could fall very squarely in the headcanon space.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's weird. Anyway, here's a question from Blue Blur. You said in a previous BumbleKast that each Sonic media must be considered as a parallel universe unless explicitly stated otherwise. What is the definition of parallel universe you used?
To me, the distinction is any offshoot media that doesn't have a direct correlation to the mainline games. So when the next game comes out, or when new lore is introduced in a game, that is reflected in the IDW books, or will at least become a considered part of it. So they are under this kind of same umbrella. Whereas stuff like SatAM, Adventures of, Underground, Sonic X, Sonic Boom, none of those reflect changes that come from the mainline series. And yes, X followed mainline for a fair bit, but then there were lots of contradictions and divergences, so X is its own thing. Also, if there are elements in it that... maybe I shouldn't say that, because that opens itself up for contradictions and greater scrutiny. That much is at least how I understand it, and that seems to fit for the most part.
Wow. I guess that makes sense. Here's a question from Alex P. I'm not sure if anyone else answered this question before, but has Archie or IDW ever released the official scripts from any of the Sonic comics for the public to see? It would really be interesting to see an important piece of the comic book archived somewhere online, but I haven't seen anything as of yet.
I feel like there's been a trade or two that has featured some reprints of the script as a bonus feature, but whole script reproduction or like releasing the scripts themselves straight, no. Those are forever locked in the archives in the deep Sonic Vatican that we shall never see.
But the only thing out there is your samples that you've put out.
Yeah, and those were done with permission and less than 50% of the material. So
yeah,
whole scripts, no.
Alrighty. Here's a question from Big Smile. On the first Tails tube, Sonic says the Chaos Emeralds can make him gold and super fast and flying. Tails responds by wishing he was that cool. Does this mean Super Tails isn't canon? What about Sonic Heroes, where Tails does use the emeralds to get a gold shield and fly?
The gold shield is not a super form in the same way Sonic is a super form. Sonic is a full bodily transformation, and he granted the shields to Tails and Knuckles.
And we've talked before about how disappointing that whole thing was.
You better believe it. There is data within the game that fans have mined that seems to imply that it is a kind of super transformation, but we've seen what a super form can look like in the classic stuff, and that was not it.
No.
So it's not the same kind of transformation, and it's not something that Tails can do on his own. Tails did not gain the super shield by himself. He was given that by Supersonic. And even more frustratingly, Supersonic gave a full-on super form to Shadow and Silver in 06. Why didn't they just get stupid little shield?
Still bitter about it 20 years later. No.
I was especially mad because I was still salty about that Silver boss fight. You don't deserve a super form, you schmuck. Mm-hmm. Throw me into the stratosphere. Mm-hmm. Hit me with lawn chairs. Get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Go trim your back hair. Get out of my timeline.
Here's a question from Alex R. Are the emeralds made from chow? We know that Chaos was the first guardian of the emeralds, along with a chow colony. Chaos itself is a mutated chow. Chaos and the emeralds both seem to be made from pure energy. Chow absorb energy from other creatures. Chaos can absorb the emeralds, and the Master Emerald can absorb Chaos. This may all be some gameplay coincidence, but what are your thoughts on the potential theory / headcanon? Special stages to find emeralds are often made like colorful obstacle courses, which would also describe the races that Chow famously partake in.
You've done a lot of excellent legwork there. I'm sorry to say that it is all wrong. I don't want to use that word. That sounds mean, but no, none of that is accurate. And yes, there is a definitive answer, and yes, I know what it is, and no, I can't say what it is right now. So, good thought, good effort, A+ for effort, but no.
Sorry. I mean, you could leave
I
that
feel super guilty about that, but it's not. It's just.
Oh, well. Know what it says? You can't have that as a headcanon.
I mean, if that works for you better, then by all means, keep that as your personal headcanon and run with it.
Yep.
Don't let me rain on your parade.
No. Don't take Ian's reign. You don't have to take that. Here's a question from Cassidy J. I have a Sonic OC based on myself named Cat, her nickname. She is a hybrid of an echidna and a cat, like how some characters in the Archie universe were like. I create a lot of completely original OCs, not of any franchise, and Cat is the only one from the Sonic universe I created. I know fan art of Cat is fine to post and all, but if I were to use Cat in anything I create, such as a website to promote myself or an animation, would that be okay to do since she is a character I created despite being from the Sonic universe?
Let me preface this by saying I am not a legal expert. I am not a legal consultant. I haven't read a law book in ever. I do not represent SEGA in any kind of official legal or professional capacity in the answering of this question. So this is purely my conjecture, my personal feelings on the matter, and should not be taken as any form of professional or legal advice.
Got it.
Okay?
Yes.
I don't think pants cover my ass that much. Okay, anyway. If you're just doing stuff for you, like your own small personal promotions and creations, I don't think that's going to be an issue. The minute you start to monetize it, then it might potentially become an issue because you do not have the licensing rights to reference Sega and Sonic styled echidnas or that lore. That's not your property to mine from. I sincerely doubt it's going to be an issue if it's just something that you're doing for yourself or like within your circle of friends or just, a little bit online. That's not worth the hassle to, go after you legally. But if this were to become a thing, like if you were to find great success, and I do wish that for you, if this were to become something that you can bank on, then you'd probably have to revise and edit CAT so that they were legally distinct with no overt or even non-overt ties to the Sonic material.
Yeah. That's kind of the thing. Like, if you're doing your completely own separate thing with them, like, they're just off somewhere, probably mostly in the clear. But if you're, like, trying to bring in Sonic and stuff, then that's definitely going to be a problem.
I mean, Sega has been super, super cool with a lot of fan creations.
Yeah.
Like all the fan games and animations and whatnot out there, which other companies would have struck down out of fear of setting a precedence of non-legal action. So kudos to Sega for being so open-minded about that. But at the same time, you don't want to push your luck on it. So I think for what you're doing, you're probably in the clear.
Mm-hmm.
But again, when you start to monetize and when you see a larger audience, then if it potentially becomes a bit of confusion between products, like if someone looked at your thing and thought it was officially Sega material because of that connection, then somebody might think to step in because you're not licensed, you're not linked to them in any way, and they wouldn't want their brand misrepresented.
Mm-hmm.
But this is assuming that your thing has gotten to be big enough that those comparisons are being made on a large enough scale that someone would be concerned. For whatever you're doing right now, I'm imagining that it's small enough that you're okay.
Well, look at like Freedom Planet. The art style is obviously inspired by Sonic, and those characters actually started off as Sonic fan characters. But
yeah,
they've since become their own thing, and they are legally distinct from Sonic, obviously. It doesn't take place in the Sonic universe for their games or anything. But the character designs are still pretty close.
They're reminiscent. You can see
it's not identical.
Inspiration,
yeah.
But you're not going to confuse a Freedom Planet character for a Sonic character at a glance. Well, maybe at a glance, but you can put them side by side. And you're not going to say, oh, it's clearly that. It's going to be more like, well, this is an Anthro thing than it is a Sonic thing.
I mean, I think they're a bit closer to Sonic characters than that, but it is a... you can't really, like... I don't know if you can necessarily copyright an art style.
I don't think you can.
So that's kind of... It's the legal... shenanigans aside, it's hard to say. May want to consult someone who knows more about this stuff. You can claim the likeness, but that's about it. So, again, we are not legal experts in the slightest.
No,
So,
no.
I'd recommend that if you really do want to know more about this, that you do consult someone who is a legal expert and see what they say. Because if you want to go further with something, it's always a good idea to check in just to make sure. You never know. Here's a question from Ellie Plays Games. Since you're using the basis that the Freedom Fighters were in Spinball to try and get them an IDW, does this mean Mutski is possible to make a return as well, since he was also in Spinball? Would Sonic having a dog again change any possible story arcs in any way? Also, will Antoine be harder to bring back because he actually wasn't in Spinball? What about Scratch, too, since he was in the other Spinball minigame?
I don't know. I have not had the opportunity to pursue this as of this recording in any kind of great sincerity. Scratch and Mutski are zero priority for me right now. It's kind of Freedom Fighters or bust. Maybe Sally. She might be able to make the jump solo, but it's either her or the team. That's my focus, because that's what most fans of that era want to see. I know there are some fans of Mutski and of Scratch, but let's be realistic here. They do not have the star power that the Freedom Fighters do, nor do they have the narrative impact that those characters would have. So convincing the right parties to consider the Freedom Fighters for a revival is already a big ask. Mutski and Scratch aren't even on my radar right now.
Well, that's just sad. Hashtag moving for Mutski.
I don't mean to sound callous. I really don't, but I've been at this for a while. It wears on you.
You gotta prioritize some things eventually, you know. I get it. Here's a question from Great Song 1. 20th December 2021 and 11th of January 2022 mark 5 years since Archie Sonic issue 290, final issue of the mainline Archie Sonic comic series, and Sonic Universe issue 94, the overall final Archie Sonic issue, were released respectively. And at the time of this writing, the 19th of July this year marks 5 years since the Archie Sonic comic series was officially announced over. How was your reaction to the cancellation back then?
Gutted.
It was kind of frightening, actually.
Yeah.
There was a lot in the air at that time.
It didn't hurt quite as bad as the reboot, but I think that's just because the reboot hurt so bad that anything next to it was going to be dulled. It was the biggest emotion I remember feeling was panic, because that was my career. You know, what do I do now?
Yeah, we were. Yeah, I remember.
How do I provide for my family? What do I do at this point? So, Archie was kind enough to throw whatever work they could my way to kind of help offset that. And I just kind of kept my ear to the ground for wherever the book might go afterwards, hoping against hope. But it was not a good feeling. It was not a good time. And yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was, yeah. I was there on the outside of it, and I was even like, not the best time, but hey, I think you bounced back pretty well.
Not too bad. That thanks to a lot of other people who were in the process, who I will always and eternally be thankful for. It did light a fire under me to diversify my portfolio a bit and try to make more connections, though, because I do not want to go through that again.
No, I don't want to see you go through that again. Oof, that was a interesting time. All right, well, let's move on to something hopefully a little less traumatic.
Bleak.
That too. This one is from Dennis M. What exactly are stipulations when it comes to NDAs? Oh no. Oh, well, never mind. BumbleKast is canceled. We're done. I'm kidding. What exactly are stipulations when it comes to NDAs? Like, if I asked now, What happens in issue 25? Is the metal virus vanquished, or do the Zeddies stir things up even more? Are you allowed to answer since it's been out for almost 2-ish years?
NDAs are going to vary from company to company, project to project. Generally speaking, they will restrict what kind of information you can put out there before the marketing team or whoever's running things puts the information out for public consumption. Generally, you're not supposed to badmouth the project before or during or after. And a lot of the ones I've signed ask you not to discuss the process of creation here and there, which kind of spooks me as I say that out loud. It's like, whose toes am I stepping on right now? Mostly it's just to ensure that the product and its presentation are regulated and under control. Like, that could potentially, affect sales if, an insider gives a negative review of a product before it even comes out. That's what NDAs are largely to prevent against. For the comics, I don't think I'm under like any actual NDA for the comics. It's just somewhere in the contract it's probably stated, please don't be mean about us online, which should just be common sense. So, if you're going to ask, for clarification on a plot point after a book's been published, there's nothing to hide there. The book's out. The product has been consumed, unless you haven't read it yet, in which case you're asking for spoilers, but it's been 2 years, so you've had your chance. So, yeah, once a comic is published, the product's out there. There's nothing really to, hide or not talk about.
I suppose. But then, people don't always go into the production of games and stuff. It's kind of rare that stuff comes out. But, I don't know. And maybe we'll find out in a few years if you can finally ever talk about anything you've worked on recently.
I mean, I could probably talk about my work with Studio Aether, because they're generally more low-key about that stuff.
Yeah. But I mean, even your work on Sonic Origins, right? You probably can't really talk too much about big production on that.
No.
Yeah, and I don't even know. You might be under a perpetual sort of thing where you can't blab on about that too much. So
I'd probably have to actually look at the documentation again and see if there is a hard deadline or a date where I could be more open about it. But they're pretty kind of blanket, no talkie.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break after this next question here from Joey the Sonic fan. If Rum and Tumble met Bebop and Rocksteady, would they become friends, rivals, or friendly rivals?
Yes. Not necessarily in that order, but all of those at some point. They would probably fight initially, and then they would probably become pals again, and then they would fight afterwards, and then kind of have a mutual love-hate relationship. It would be fun no matter what.
Yes, and IDW, you need to get on this. You have both licenses. There's literally no reason for this to not happen. Make it happen, Captain. Oh wait, no, that was earlier this week where we had the serial question. Anyway, let's take a break, and then we'll be right back with more BumbleKast. We're back, and we got a question from Oni M. Whatever happened to Stephen Butler? Has he retired?
I don't know. Maybe he's semi-retired. I know he was going to do. I thought he was going to do a bit of work on the Rob Liefeld Crusaders project before that fizzled, or maybe I'm confusing that with something else. And I know he did a book with his daughter that got a Kickstarter funded, but that was a while ago. I think he's still working in illustration. I just don't know what he's up to these days.
Huh. I have no idea. All right. Well, we got a question here from Joe S. Why does everyone wear gloves? I mean, I know it's Mickey Mouse meets Felix the Cat, but seriously, does anyone not wear them? Are they prepared for a 4-star gala off the French Pier? Does Sonic or anyone ever take them off? I know it's a design quirk, and I'm glad it's there. It gives the characters more pop. I just wonder if there's a reason aside from aesthetics. Everyone wears fancy white gloves. I'd imagine it's that scene from an extremely goofy movie where Styx looks at their heads and says, "Why do you all wear these things?" And I know Sonic would be more into the sports gloves for the grip, but they wouldn't look as good. I'm overthinking this, but what do you think?
I don't think there's an in-universe reason. You did highlight that Styx is the only one who doesn't wear them. And there's one piece of official art where Silver's built a snowman, and he's used his own glove to make the head quill fronds like he has on the snowman. But the hand that doesn't have the glove anymore is hidden behind the snowman, so we can't actually see it. And that will haunt me till my dying day. What does the hand look like?
Styx doesn't wear gloves because it's a conspiracy, because everyone else does. And she thinks they're being controlled through their gloves, so she doesn't wear them. That's probably the best explanation I can come up with.
She read in a manual somewhere something about manual control. That's what it's got to be.
Yeah. Here's a question from Edward C. How come the Sonic comics can include Easter eggs and references to characters Sega definitely doesn't own, like Conan and Rachel from Detective Conan, Garfield, Baronet and Adrian from Miraculous Ladybug, Gadget from Rescue Rangers, Wrinkly from OKKO, etc. But can't do the same for obscure Sonic characters like the Freedom Fighters, characters from the Sonic manga, Fleetway, or characters from any of the other Sonic cartoons, etc. Because wouldn't it be less of a legal hassle to use characters that are actually part of Sonic's brand instead of characters that very clearly aren't?
Yes, but doing little references and nods is kind of a time-honored tradition, and most of those that you referenced are visual homages. They're not like the actual character. Like the little Adrian and Marinette OCs in the crowd shots aren't the people. They're Mobians that are inspired by, clearly, but they aren't the actual characters or their designs.
They are legally distinct, but not the same.
So it's more of a kind of a fun nod and wink. It's not like they're being used as part of the franchise or part of the product. They're not a selling point. It's more of it's like you said, it's an Easter egg. It's a fun little thing. Whereas Fleetway and SatAM and all that stuff are indicative of the Sonic brand, and therefore if they were to show up, that would be an implication that they are part of the present branding for Sonic. And I believe in Fleetway's case, there is some really nasty tangled ownership questions to be had. So stuff that's with your little Easter egg nods, there's no confusion over what these are in terms of the brand. They're just for funsies, little visual gags. Whereas any Sonic material, it kind of muddies the water of what is canon, what is part of the story, what is just a background element. I mean, there was that one cover during the Metal Virus where folks were going, oh, these are clearly XPs of the Archie characters. They're back. And it's like, no, that was just what the artist chose to do for that cover. And it caused a bit of a headache for me for a little bit. So that's pretty much why, is because they don't want to confuse what is Sonic brand and what is defunct Sonic brand.
Right. It's a fine line. It's a hard line to tread, but sometimes there are some little things here and there too that are in there. Just tiny, tiny, tiny subtle references, you know? Sometimes it happens. But sometimes it's like unintentional.
Gadget showing up for a panel isn't going to ruffle that many feathers.
Yeah.
If she had a speaking role and was a reoccurring character, then Disney would descend like the hammer of Thor, and we would be seeing all sorts of fallout.
Then we'd have a problem. And then there was the TMNT showing up in one panel in very early old Archie Sonic days. Which
yeah, but were they even like referenced directly?
They were in the background. They were not in any way.
Do they even have their bandanas?
I don't think,
you know.
Actually, yeah, they do.
They do? Okay.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've seen the panel.
Yeah, they do, and they have speaking roles, but that's the only time they appear in that one panel. So they speak, but it's very, very minor. So, and Archie had the license for TMNT at that time too, so it was probably a little less legal on that. Would probably be slightly less of a hassle, but I don't know, man. Sometimes these things just get weird. Copyright and legal stuff is frustrating at best and enraging at worst. Here's a question from Kalu. With all these mandates or rules or something happening, I'm wondering if you guys or IDW ever asked SEGA for creative freedom at all.
I got to spend 1.5 years doing a zombie apocalypse story. You don't get much more creative freedom than that.
Well, I mean, some people are like, they're throwing that back now, like, oh, so the mandates aren't real because you get all this creative freedom.
It's not binary. It's not all or nothing. There are regulations on how they want the brand represented, and those change over time.
Yes.
And that's the job of anyone working on a licensed product, is to tell a engaging and interesting story within the confines of those restrictions. So there is some creative. It's going to depend on who the licensor is. I've heard nightmare stories from other folks, but we have a decent amount of latitude with the Sonic brand.
Alrighty. Here's one from Tony C. You know what's one interesting fact that is never explored? The Commander's thoughts on Eggman. Eggman, by all accounts, is everything the Commander thought Gerald was, and possibly worse. Yet this is never explored in the game. And the man hasn't appeared since after ST05? What is that?
Yep.
Is that
Not
supposed
sure what that is.
Shadow? I don't know. If anybody knows what ST05 is, leave it down in the comments below. I don't know. Maybe they mean Sonic 06? I'm confused.
No, because the Commander didn't show up, and that last thing he showed up in was Sonic Chronicles.
Is that maybe it's a comic? ST05. Huh. Oh well. Did you ever plan to write an interaction between the two in Archie, either pre-reboot or post-reboot? How would it go? And on a side note, will you fight to make his Archie name canon to the games, or will that never happen?
Fight? No. I can suggest it, but it'll probably get passed on. And that's okay. As for what would he think of him, he would hate him, quite clearly. I mean, I don't think there's much to investigate there. As you said, he is everything he thought Gerald was and worse, so he would unabashedly hate the man, and for good reason. And since he's such a stoic hard ass, he wouldn't, play around with any of Eggman's eccentricities. He would just say, all cannons fire at will. It wouldn't be the most nuanced interaction, but it would be direct enough.
Why would they fire the cannons at will? They should be firing them at Eggman. You're welcome.
I'm going to have him pilot a mech called the Egg Will just to spite you.
Thank you. I'm glad. At least I will have left my mark on the Sonic comic somehow. We got a question here from Mary Kay. Have you ever had any interactions with Ian Jones-Quartey? He's very outspoken about his love of Sonic, animating part of the intro for Mania and having that Sonic episode of his show, OKKO. I ask, since he's very outspoken about how he grew up on the comics, so much so that the episode has a reference to the Sonic Quest miniseries. From everything I've heard, I'd imagine he's aware of you, and I wonder if you two have ever crossed paths, formally, digitally, or not. Just wondering.
We kind of knew of each other back in the fandom days when we were kids, and I have had the pleasure of meeting him personally at, there was one show, might have been San Diego Comic-Con, probably was San Diego Comic-Con, and once at the SEGA offices when they were promoting the crossover episode. Super nice guy, super chill, incredibly talented, brings great honor to the name Ian, and just a good guy. We haven't interacted a ton, but what we have done has always been a pleasure.
Nice. All right, here's one from Joe M. Will Tracy or Evan again pop up back on the show? Would love to see them again.
If schedules work out, right now we're working on how best to keep pumping out 3 episodes a week here. Once we've got that figured out, then we can start looking to maybe bringing in more guests.
Yeah, getting guests back in here. I think that would be great. And here's a question from Bossy Glossy. What kind of chili does Sonic like on his chili dogs? It's the one trait still hanging on from the 90s, and I was wondering if he's more of a 5-alarm guy, or does he prefer it mild, maybe vegetarian? Must the two be combined before the thought of eating it? No dog without chili. Forget the chili if there's no dog. Considering he only ever ate at Uncle Chuck's, I'd imagine he's somewhat picky. How adventurous is he, or does it not matter so long as it tastes good?
I think it's a little bit of both. He is an adventurous individual after all, so he would be open to all sorts of chili concoctions and how things are done around the world. But I imagine that he would like a decent balance of sweet, savory, and spicy. Something that's got a little bit of zip, but isn't going to be something that he has to take time washing down with a drink. Just something that's delicious to scarf down, satisfying to consume, and then he's on the run again.
Makes sense to me. And we got a question here from Argus. In Stress Test, Knuckles was rather casual about the appearance of the God of Destruction. Though it's understandable as it was just Chaos Zero, the exact wording of, that's just chaos. He's the peaceful guardian of the Chow. He's harmless. At least to me implies that chaos just comes out to, I don't know, hang out on occasion. It implies familiarity. Further by, I forgot he's got a bad temper, but I know how to put him in his place. And that's a new trick. Implying the two tussle often. I suppose, in short, the question is, does Chaos just come out on his own on occasion? Is he free to just be used in stories by extension? What about Tikal, who was sealed with the Water God? Could she also just come out? Do the Guardians of the Master Emerald and the Chow get along?
Excellent questions that I don't have answers for right now. That's kind of in flux. With that tie-in issue itself, the wording was meant to be open-ended so that you could infer that it's a more regular thing, but it also applies if he only is referring to their Sonic Adventure interactions. He learned that Chaos was supposed to be the gentle protector of the Chow. He's fought Chaos in the past, so he knows what he's capable of, and he knows where to strike. So if we don't get to have Chaos pop up again, which he should because he was in battle in the story mode, not just a playable character, then it works. And if, for whatever reason he has been relegated to never showing up againville, then it still works within that context of the SA1 experience.
Alrighty. Pikaroo 1 has a question. Did you know that in Resident Alien Season 2, hidden under a character's bed are issues 9 and 11 of Sonic Universe? How does it feel to have your work cameo in mainstream media? Pretty flippin' cool, I bet. Also, this might be Lost Hedgehog Tales, but feel free to answer if not. Archie Sonic was nearing number 300, and Sonic Universe was nearing number 100 before the license lapsed and subsequently changed hands. Were there any plans for these milestones?
Yeah, it's neat when the books get acknowledged outside of, just the comic book fandom. So I don't remember those issues in particular and if they would have any kind of relevance to an episode, but maybe just whatever they had on hand. Still, that's neat. Free marketing. Huzzah. As for 300 and 100, we absolutely had plans. I had breakdowns that were in for approvals, and we had post 300 and post 100 plans in mind. Not to put too fine a point on it, but 300 was going to be kind of a culmination issue, a big bookend event. And 100 was going to more or less lay the groundwork for the next big cross-book event thing. And both got torpedoed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Dang it. Now I'm sad again. Well, let's move on to this next question then, I guess. From Burb. Amy in 30 years later, is she like the cool single aunt type to the others? What was her arc during the time skip?
This is kind of a Lost Hedgehog Tales thing too, but hey. I was entertaining the idea that she became more invested in the time stones and just basically became a guardian of time. that she kind of grew up and went about her own awesome time-skipping adventures.
I like it. Here's one from Damashi T. In both Sonic Rivals games, Metal Sonic has a minor copy ability different from Neo Metal's biodata copy ability, allowing him to mimic the abilities of who he's currently fighting. Does he still have this ability in the Sonic IDW continuity? If he does it have a similar limitation to Sonic X's Emerald, where he has difficulty using it if there's more than one target? Did Eggman program him to delete memory of said techniques after a fight ends, or possibly even mid-battle after use, to avoid potential issues like Emerald had in battle? Had Starline not intervened, could he have used it to escape Silver's psychokinesis?
Whether or not Metal retains the chameleon chip, and if it's even considered canon, is kind of up for debate. I've been told no, but there are examples where he can. So, most notably, I think last time was Sonic Free Riders. Whether or not that was the actual chameleon chip or just data copying is, neither here nor there. So, I would like to see him have the ability to, copy in the adversary, so he's got a little more interesting dynamic against the rest of the cast and not just Sonic, but we'll see what SEGA says in the long term.
And finally, our last question for this week is from Haley Gale the Quail. Was Knuckles hatched from an egg? I know biology is an important factor since, ever, but given their connection to the chow and echidnas being the only other mammal besides platypuses laid from eggs, I don't know, it adds a sort of bond with the two of them on an oddly deeper level. What do you think?
I don't think there needs to be a line drawn between the echidnas and chow, given that chow can live anywhere there's fresh water and echidnas are extinct. But
hey, Knuckles takes offense to that. He's not extinct yet.
He has no way to reproduce. He's extinct.
Says
he has no breeding population. He's extinct.
Quick, let's microwave more babies. More eggs. Put the eggs in the microwave.
It does beg the question, though, if monotreme and avian species and reptiles lay eggs or not. I don't know. The reproductive processes of Sonic characters has not been explored in any official capacity that I'm aware of.
Depending on the era of Archie Sonic you're looking at, Knuckles was an egg, yes.
Yeah, but that's Archie Sonic, and that continuity is
long
dead
gone.
and in the ground.
That's long gone.
We're talking about official material.
Yes, I know. I know what we're talking about, Ian. But I'm not talking about that.
Then what are we talking about?
We're talking about how Starline was a bad egg. I mean, come on.
Oh!
I think I killed him. I
didn't see that one coming. Wow.
Are you hurt, like physically?
I think so. Well struck blow, sir. Well struck.
Well, I have to give credit to the chat for that one, for chipping in on that one. Thank you, chat. I'm not that clever on my own. I wouldn't have come up with that. Oh, well, we're a couple of bad eggs too, but hey, at least we're going to thank the people who make this show possible, right?
Absolutely. A big thank you to everyone who contributes from patreon.com/BumbleKast, Ko-fi.com/BumbleKast, and our YouTube members.
That sounds wrong now.
Hey, I have to make an effort to correct one of my many flaws.
I guess.
Big thank you to Daniel H., John B., Jennifer R., Robotnik Holmes, Samuel P., Sam Cybercat, Mike B., Dave M., Coupling Crew 128, Dois Diz Den, Andrew D., Salute Your Cat, Jay Frost, Hero of Light 13, Scruffy Matt, Chris A., Ryan D., Sony, John M., Nunny, Jeb, Dawn B., Yami M., Lee H.K., Lisa M., Fiona M., Chevelle, Invade Turbo Tunis, Ben W., Blue Title Gamer, Tick Tick, Keeper of Monsters, Xander, Ernie the Painter, Axis, Final Neil, Jonathan D., Scurvy Pirate Hog, Nimerick, Solaire Stain, The Name is X, Godzilla, Daddler the Dalek, Chaos Universe, Sonic Legacy, Daniel B., Ava Arctic, Pedanticat, Dove, Red the Supernamic, Quaggle Gaggle, Chad, Professor Rye, Cameron H, Jennifer H, Arcfighter Les, Nondol, Sapphire Scarletta, Jack the Animator, Preston M, Alphamon or Yukon, Noah S, Kojiro Highwind, Alex GS, Supersonic Fan, Awesome Cakester, Radreed Chase L, Finest Cacophony, Red Wolf, Knights Jubal, Just a Mountain Soul, Callan Q, Jolene B, Joshua S, Megawatt, Ty H, Maddie H, John the Real Waluigi, and Tails, Triplets Born, The Throne Awaits, KJB, DeRoosevelt Mox, Owen BD, Dapper Shinks, The Marble Gardener, T Ranger, For Sonic, Lewis J, Lemur Chicken, Agent Kaz, Starlight Sick, Wild 48, Navarre, Exadol, Michael Peace, Ty Cyan, Rhythm Raccoon, Miles the Prower, Fenris Asger, Pap, Delta God 77, Miggy Sawdust, Pig Dan 20, Jinx, Jamal S, Lacey M, Unlikely Veronica, Cosmic Cooking Hunter 77, Oz Jam, Shimmy M, Angela V5, Spiral Warrior, The Flower Gardener, Sammy S, King Toasty, Tetsu Knives, The Cartoonist, The Internet Person, Seth Cube, Speedweed, Mobius, Mighty Ray, Madeline Blue Star 7, Joestar SSB, Hedge, Digimon 11, and Chinny Kenny, Chaos Sonic, Bump the Deer, Anonymous Phelps G, Ryoku Shion, Meta Mode, Dandy Light, Frost the White Light, Agnes Acid Wheels, 282 Hedgehog.
Holy crap, dude. It's amazing. Wow. You've been practicing?
I actually have been a little bit. That's 141 wonderful patrons. Thank you all so much.
Very nice. Very nice. Spitting hot fire over here.
That's going to wrap us up for this episode of the BumbleKast. Y'all have a lovely weekend, and we will see you Monday for more Priority Q&A. Until then, be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and we'll see you then.
Have a good weekend, everybody. Unless you're listening to this on not the Friday it comes out, in which case, I don't know. Go away. Don't stop bothering me. Go away.
Yeah, you can edit it. You're smart.
Bold of you to assume. Bold assumption you got there. Let's see how it plays out.
Sorry.
Took a moment there.
Okay.
What is she sorry about?
I don't know.
She's sorry about being. Okay. She's sorry about being Canadian. She shouldn't be sorry about that.
We'll just make that the blanket excuse.
Okay.
You've been listening to the BumbleKast, a co-production of Bumble King Comics and the KNGI Network. Original theme music composed by Ken Coda Snyder. Remixed intro by T-Lopes. Find out more information, along with podcast feeder links, MP3 downloads, and more at bumbleking.com and kngi.org.
Alrighty, I have to go run to the grocery store before it closes. So, y'all have a lovely evening. Have a lovely rest of your weekend, and I will see you later.
Alrighty, man. The grocery store closes early there, I guess, huh? Wait a minute, what time is it there?
They've been renovating it for like a month.
Oh, okay.
So every time I go back there, all the shelves are different, and all the stock is different, and something else has been torn down. And
it's a big pain in the ass. Okay, cool. Like what? It's like what 7:30 there, right? It's not that late, not that early. It's not that late.
So I got some time, but I should do that and get dinner and all that. Just
do that. Get out of here.
I have to go adulting. Bye.
Ew, gross. Get out of here. Bye.